Before switching on the ignition, you should A. Be sure only backseat passengers have buckled their seat belts. B. Be sure only adult passengers have buckled their seat belts. C. Be sure only child passengers have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. Develop a routine for entering and leaving your car. Before switching on the ignition, buckle your safety belt and see that all passengers do likewise. Pentagonal signs indicate A. No passing zones. B. School zones. C. Speed limits. D. Railroad crossings. B. School zones. Pentagonal signs indicate that you are in a school zone. Be extra alert to children and pedestrians when driving near a school. You are driving in the right lane of a multi-lane highway and want to move into the left lane. You should A. Look in your rearview mirror for traffic behind you before changing lanes. B. Look over your left shoulder for traffic in your blind spot before changing lanes. C. Look in your side mirror for traffic and turn on your directional signal. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Before changing lanes, you should always verify that there are no other vehicles in the lane you want to enter by checking your mirrors and looking over your shoulder in the direction you plan to move. You should signal every time you change lanes. Fill in the blank. Limit your concentration, perception, judgment, and memory. A. Only a blood alcohol level greater than the legal limit can. B. Alcohol does not. C. Even the smallest amount of alcohol can. D. Only a blood alcohol level greater than 0.05% can. C. Even the smallest amount of alcohol can. Even the smallest amount of alcohol will reduce your concentration, perception, judgment and memory, and your driving skills will suffer. No one can drink and drive safely.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
You are driving in the left lane and want to move into the right lane. You should A. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over your left shoulder for other vehicles before changing lanes. B. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over your right shoulder for other vehicles before changing lanes. C. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over both shoulders for other vehicles before changing lanes. D. Check your mirrors, signal, and change lanes. B. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over your right shoulder for other vehicles before changing lanes. When changing lanes, you should check your vehicle's blind spots by looking over your shoulder in the direction that you want to move. Always check your mirrors and turn on your directional signal before beginning a lane change. Which of the following are used on some highways to direct drivers into the proper lanes for turning? A. Flashing red lights. B. Flashing yellow lights. C. White lines on the side of the road. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. Arrows may be used to indicate which lanes should be used for specific purposes, such as driving straight or making a turn. When approaching a traffic signal displaying a steady green arrow, drivers A. should merge into a lane in the direction of the arrow. B. Should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. C. May turn in the direction of the arrow after yielding to traffic and pedestrians already in the intersection. D. May drive straight through the intersection. C. May turn in the direction of the arrow after yielding to traffic and pedestrians already in the intersection. A green arrow displayed on a traffic signal tells drivers that they may turn in the direction of the arrow. You must be in the proper lane for such a turn. Yield the right-of-way to vehicles and pedestrians already in the intersection. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Two-way left turn. C. Two-way traffic. D. Minimum speed limit. A. One-way traffic. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This sign tells drivers the direction in which they must drive when turning onto a one-way street. From top to bottom, the following is the proper order for traffic lights. A. Red, yellow, green. B. Red, green, yellow. C. Green, red, yellow. D. Green, yellow, red. A. Red, yellow, green. On a traffic signal arranged vertically, red is always on top and green on the bottom. When arranged horizontally, red is always on the left and green on the right. When changing lanes, you can check your blind spots by A. Using the inside rearview mirror. B. Using the outside rearview mirror. C. Using both inside and outside rearview mirrors. D. Turning your head and looking over your shoulder. D. Turning your head and looking over your shoulder. You should turn your head to check your blind spots before every lane change. To prepare for anything coming up on the road ahead, you should A. Continually scan the entire road and all roadsides. B. Stare straight ahead at all times. C. Drive with your left foot resting lightly on the brake pedal. D. Maintain focus toward the middle of the road. A. Continually scan the entire road and all roadsides. Your ability to handle dangerous traffic situations depends largely on searching for and identifying problems before meeting them. Looking far ahead of your vehicle does not mean you should simply stare at the center of the road. You need to continually scan the entire road, including the sides of the road. When driving in fog, you should use your low beam headlights. A. True. B. False. A. True. You should always use your low beam headlights when driving in fog. High beam headlights may cause the light to reflect off of the fog and into your eyes. You may pass another vehicle if the line dividing your lane from the lane you wish to enter as a fill in the blank line. A. Broken white. B. Double solid yellow. C. Solid yellow. D. Solid white. A. Broken white. White lines separate traffic lanes traveling in the same direction. You may cross broken white lines to pass, as long as the passing lane is clear. You are driving on the roadway and hear a siren behind you. You should A. Stop where you are. B. Pull over to the right and stop. C. Speed up to get out of the way. D. Slow down. B. Pull over to the right and stop. When you hear the siren or see the flashing lights of an emergency vehicle coming from behind your vehicle, you must create a clear path for the emergency vehicle and stop. Reduce your speed and safely pull over to the side of the road. If the emergency vehicle is directly behind your vehicle when you are in heavy traffic, keep moving slowly until you can get out of its way. When approaching an accident scene, you should A. Keep your attention on your driving. B. Keep moving. C. Stop if you are involved or if emergency help has not yet arrived. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Do not stop at an accident scene unless you are involved or emergency help has not yet arrived. Keep your attention on your driving and keep moving, watching for people who might be on or near the road. Never drive to the scene of an accident, fire, or other disaster just to look. Which of the following statements about railroad crossings is true? A. It is against the law to go around lowered gates at a crossing. B. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger. C. Not all railroad crossings are equipped with flashing red signals and gates. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger, stop sign, or warning devices, such as gates or flashing lights. Not all railroad crossings are equipped with such devices. It is against the law to drive around lowered railroad crossing gates. The no zone is A. A term used to describe blind spots around a truck or bus. B. A special speed zone. C. A roadway with restrictions on vehicle stereo volume. D. The television show that replaced the Twilight Zone. A. A term used to describe blind spots around a truck or bus. A truck or bus has blind spots on each side, in the rear, and in the front. An automobile cannot be seen in these blind spots. These blind spots are referred to as the no zone. You may park or stop along the shoulder of the freeway. A. As long as you turn on your four-way emergency flashers. B. If no part of your vehicle is on the road. C. If you need to look at a map for directions. D. Only if you have an emergency. D. Only if you have an emergency. It is prohibited to park on the shoulder of a freeway, except in an emergency. To safely pass a bicycle, you should A. Honk at the bicyclist to let them know you're trying to pass. B. Drive in the bicycle lane until you get a chance to pass. C. Slow down and give them as much space as possible. D. Rush ahead to pull in front of the bicyclist. C. Slow down and give them as much space as possible. When passing a bicyclist, slow down and give them as much space as you can. Bicyclists have much less protection than drivers of motor vehicles and they should not be crowded. Passing a bicycle too quickly can shift the bicyclist off course. This road sign means A. Turn right after making a complete stop. B. Right turns are not permitted. C. Left turns are permitted. D. None of the above. B. Right turns are not permitted. Regulatory signs display laws that drivers must always obey. Right turns are not permitted where this sign is present. This road sign means A. The road ahead curves right. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. B. Divided highway begins. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. C. Merge. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. D. Winding road ahead. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. A. The road ahead curves right. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. These signs indicate that the road curves to the right ahead and that drivers should slow down to the safe speed indicated, in this case, 35 miles per hour. When approaching a school bus stopped with its stop arm extended, drivers should: A. Come to a complete stop and wait to proceed. B. Honk their horn before passing the bus on its left. C. Continue driving when they think most kids are probably done exiting the bus. D. Pass the bus before its door opens. A. Come to a complete stop and wait to proceed. When approaching a stopped school bus that is using its stop signal, a driver is required to come to a complete stop. They should not proceed until the stop arm is withdrawn. When the driver behind you wants to pass, you should: A. Speed up. B. Go the same speed. C. Slow down to allow room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete the pass easily. D. Change lanes. C. Slow down to allow room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete the pass easily. When the driver behind you wants to pass, you should slow down so that there is enough room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete their pass. This will allow them to complete the passing maneuver in less time and more easily. It is unlawful for a car to try to share a lane with a motorcycle. A. True. B. False. A. True. Motorcycle operators have the right to use a complete traffic lane. Two motorcyclists may share a lane, but a car should never try to share a lane with a motorcycle. When driving in fog, you should use your high beam headlights. A. True. B. False. B. False. You should use your low beam headlights when driving in fog. High beams will reflect back at the driver and lower visibility.